A few months ago, my friend suggested a friendly wager. Just a little friendly competition, if you will. He had to go through the entirety of Monster Hunter GU on the Switch, and all I had to do was kill one monster from Monster Hunter World. That sounded like a no-brainer. One monster instead of the entirety of GU? How hard could it be? All the loser has to do is buy the other one dinner, so I thought, hey, free food. I've already gotten to the end of Iceborne, so I was confident that I would be able to kill whatever monster they suggested if I threw myself at it enough times. It wasn't until I looked into what monster they wanted me to take out that I understood the magnitude of my mess up. So, I asked them, what is this monster you want me to kill? Oh no. Monster Hunter has had many endgame monsters that ties up the game in this nice little bow. These creatures test the player, asking them to use every tool in their arsenal, use every mechanic that the game has taught them, and most of all, use up every damn healing item in their inventory. In Iceborne, this monster was Fatalis. Added as the final title update before Rise came out, this was the ultimate challenge for world players. This hulking dragon that spreads nothing but devastation in its wake. To beat it takes preparation beyond what any other game had before it. You need to start off with hunting other monsters for their gear, leveling it up, and then using that gear to hunt different monsters to then use their gear to fight Fatalis, which isn't helped by the fact that these monsters are really hard challenges in their own right. It's a long and painful road to even get all of the equipment ready for this fight. You'll need to get the right decorations, the right charms, make sure that every piece of armor is at its highest possible level that you can make it. The road to Fatalis is hard, paved with nothing but jagged edges to wear out even the most seasoned of Monster Hunter veterans. A challenge that is seen like a badge of honor. There is no achievement tied to this fight. All you are doing this for is bragging rights. And all I'm getting out of this is a free meal. Come on. Before you can even start this road to Fatalis, you need to beat the endgame monster in Iceborne, Saha Ishvalda. This will then set the ball in motion because from there, you then unlock the Guiding Lands, a place that is, for lack of a better term, a roguelike Monster Hunter. You never quite know what to expect when you go in there sometimes. From there, we then fight the Stygian Zenogre, a fairly challenging fight if you're like me and you keep getting hit by things and then press up for the secret before realising, hang on, this isn't Wilds. After a grueling fight, we finally unlock the first step in this road to Fatalis, the Raging Brachydios. A titan of a beast. It's bigger than a Brachydios, it's faster than a Brachydios, and it hits a whole lot harder than one as well. Now, for context, you don't actually need to beat Raging Brachydios to get to Fatalis, but in order to beat Fatalis, chances are we'll need the Elatrion armor. And to beat Elatrion, we need the Raging Brachydios armor. It's one of the best endgame gear sets one can make for the Elatrion fight, so if you want to stand a chance against Fatalis, you need to ensure that you stand the best chance you can against Elatrion. I main Chargeblade in World, but I do go to the switch axe in some games, but for the most part I'm a one-trick pony. There are just so many weapons and weaponries in this game that it makes sense just to focus on one weapon type rather than spending time to try and learn every weapon type in the game. I actually ended up forgetting how Chargeblade controls in World because for the entirety of Wilds I was a switch axe main. I completely forgot that Savage Mode was even a thing, but thankfully there's plenty of YouTube tutorials to help get you back up to speed if you're like me and have the memory of a goldfish. I personally recommend this video. It helped me a lot to remember the basics, while also reminding me that things like Savage Axe mode is a thing and you should probably use it. So with Chargeblade, there's a certain armor set that's worth getting before this fight with Raging Brachydios. and thankfully my friend Mr. Fantastic Ghost helped me to get it, which is the least he can do, bear in mind this bet was his idea. No, I'm not salty. Alongside him was my trusty palico, Blinks. My big cheese, my boy. He's been my ride or die companion up until Wild, my go-to name for any cat-based companion until recently, where I betrayed him and got a cat of my own, a little goober called Hades, who is now my go-to cat name in games that require me to name a cat. And yes, the name Blinks was taken from the game Blinks the Timesweeper, which is certainly a game. Jokes aside, I do unironically love this series and would love to see it return. Come on Microsoft, you cowards. Anyway, back to the Raging Brachydios preparation. As stated before, once you beat the story mode of Iceborne, you unlock the Guiding Lands. From there, we then unlock the Stygian Zinogre fight. Now, this fight's important because we need its gear for the Raging Brachydios fight. Thankfully, Mr. Fantastic Ghost helped with this. However, throughout the entirety of the fight, I was reminded that I wasn't playing with Iceborne's new mechanic, the Clutch Claw. On top of this, I was incredibly rusty, making obvious mistakes and dodging into attacks. So my friend suggested that I look into the Clutch Claw, because if I either want to stand a chance against Raging Brachydios, Alatreon or Fatalis, I need to get to grips with the Clutch Claw. So off to school I went. Clutch Claw School. Clutch Claw was the main mechanic introduced in Monster Hunter Iceborne. It allowed you to grab onto monsters, zooming towards them, clinging onto them while they try to shake you off. It separated the Monster Hunter pros to the Monster Hunter nos. From here, you can get the monster to change direction via the power of gentle persuasion. And by gentle persuasion, I mean you smack them in the face. You can also attack them for minor damage with the Clutch Claw, or you can clobber them to either tenderize the area for other players or get some slinger ammo. You can also just be a general nuisance, jumping here, there and everywhere while the poor thing tries to shake you off. I mainly ignored this mechanic when I was playing Iceborne because I didn't really understand what it was the game was asking from me. That was until I started this challenge because, like I said previously, if I want to beat Fatalis, I need to understand how this mechanic works. So, no better time than the present. I redid the Clutch Claw tutorial in Iceborne, but it's not enough. Not by a long shot. If I need to be in fighting form against Fatalis, I need to become a pro at this. So, like with any educational major, I watched YouTube videos to actually know what was needed from me. Thankfully, there are no shortages of Clutch Claw guides for both low-end and high-end play. Turns out, it's actually really simple. It just looks complicated to people who don't fully understand what's going on. Let Teacher Chazwhick be your guide. Clutch Claw is mainly a tool that is used to juggle a monster's enraged status, as well as get some wounds in that can be used by other players or yourself to do further damage. When you clutch onto a monster, you can direction bash it a total of 3 times before it will get enraged and throw you or anybody else off it. Despite this though, if you ration the amount of times you bash it in the face, you can get away with quite a fair bit. So, as an example, if you use only one direction bash, send it into a wall and then attack it, it won't go into an enraged status unless you hit the damage threshold. So, if you then clutch onto it a second time after it gets up, direction bash it once again, send it into a wall, you're opening it up to receive even more damage. So it's useful to understand just what you can get away with. If you don't use any direction bashes at all, you have a total of 2 direction bashes the second time. On the other hand, if you use just 2 direction bashes, you can't use any on the second try around. So it's beneficial to keep tabs on just how many times you smacked it in the face and made it go craning into a wall. As for wounds, you can do a big attack while stuck onto a monster. If you're using a heavy weapon, it will leave a wound there for you and other players to exploit to get more damage in. However, If you're using a light weapon, or gun lance, not entirely sure why this class is a light weapon, it's bigger than me, you will instead get slinger ammo to use. That being said, there are ways to get around this for both heavy and light weapons. In Monster Hunter, there are these things called decorations. If you want to hunt endgame monsters like Fatalis, you will need to pay attention to these to give you buffs and patch out any potential weaknesses. There is a decoration called Shaver Jewel, which will make it so heavy weapons also drop slinger ammo. On the flip side, it also makes it so then light weapons leave behind a wound after attacking. It is worth noting though that this decoration is a fairly late game one, so if you're in the early game, you won't be seeing this decoration for a while. Despite this however, there's still a way for light weapons to leave behind a wound without the use of this decoration, and that is just to smack it with your light attack a few times before then using the big attack. These wounds act like some sort of multiplier, amplifying the damage that the monster receives. However, the amount is different depending on the monster and the area that the wound's in. There are dedicated websites that go into more detail about this because it's a lot of math and I'm not good at math. Okay, lesson over. Did that make sense? Once you get your head around the basics, everything just falls into place. I already feel big-brained from learning all this. So what better way than to put all of this newfound knowledge into action by fighting some master rank Brachydioses? Makes sense since I'm going against the raging one, and thus my training arc began. Using everything that I learned was not an easy task. Reading about something is easy. Actually applying it, very different story. Not only do you need to be aware of what's around you at all times, but you also need to understand that if you were to clutch claw on the monster now, would it throw you off? Along with all this, I just kept on miscalculating the distance that the monster would travel towards a wall, so they would just awkwardly stop just before hitting it, which is really, really annoying. Now granted, training on Brachydios from the get-go probably wasn't the best of ideas. I probably should have tested it on an easier monster to get the grips on how the clutch claw moves, but I'm not smart, but I am also very determined. I was probably hoping that they would just punch the solution into my head with their big rock'em sock'em robot hands. You not only need to ensure that you use the clutch claw, but also make it that you incorporate it into your playstyle. It's all well and good just running around aiming, but if you want to maximize your damage output using it, it needs to flow naturally. Obviously, this took a while to actually get right. I trained and trained and trained some more, trying to learn the Brachydios' moveset so I can plan ahead of what he was doing. Is it getting tired but still enraged? Well, I can latch onto its tail and give it a wound. Is there a long wait animation after using a certain move? That's a good opportunity to clutch onto its face and send it careening into a wall. Is it flailing around seemingly at random? Well, I better not touch it or it will smack me across the room. It was a bit demoralizing, to be honest. I was so sure of myself that I would take what I learned and be able to apply it from the get-go, but this is Monster Hunter. It's all well and good knowing the theory, but this game expects you to be able to pull it off with finesse. Once I got past this hurdle though, it all started to click. I would start to notice when it would be a good time to use the clutch claw. I would start to anticipate what move the monster would do next. I would notice things around me that I could use during the fight, like a cliff to chuck it off, or where the walls were. I would still forget slinger ammo though, so there are many times where I would clutch onto a monster's face, not being able to do anything, which, to no big surprise, is very damn annoying. But over time, I got better. I spent several days just training up against master rank Brachydios, hoping that I can get this fight down pat easily. In my mind, if I can get the tempered version down pat, then the raging version should be easy. Finally, after several days of training, I felt ready. I made sure my loadout was correct, my weapon had the correct element, in this case ice, and I had a game plan in my head. And then I took on the raging Brachydios, and got turned into paste. Again, and again, and again. It felt like nothing I learnt mattered. Like I said earlier, it was faster, bigger, and hit like a truck. All the clutch claw stuff I learned ended up just getting me more danger. It was a massacre. I spent several days running headfirst into a slime-soaked wall, trying to see if I could at least memorize its moveset. And that helped for a little bit, but after a while, I would just start making simple mistakes. Dodging when I should have shielded, missing obvious points when I could have clutch clawed, forgetting to drink my cold drink, simple mistakes because I was so full of bloodlust and rage for this big, stupid, rock'em sock'em robot that I just forgot to do these things. It felt so daunting. If this was the first hurdle, how on earth would I fare against the other two monsters that I needed to fight? Is this the limit of my Monster Hunter skill? Have I hit my plateau? Was Charge Blade the weapon for me, or should I go for something else instead? If I do, how much time would I need to spend making an armor set? Doubt started seeping in, making me second guess everything. I started to notice that I would become more cautious while playing because I didn't want to risk failing yet again. I didn't go for the easy openings because in my mind I was terrified that I would misjudge and just get swatted across the room. With a skill-based game like Monster Hunter, there are several walls that the player has to pass through before they can continue. Counter-Strike has these promotional matches, fighting games have you rank up depending on how you do, and with Monster Hunter, it's fights like this one. You need to be able to beat it, because if not, you will not be able to make much of a dent in the later monsters. I could have done this with other players, there was nothing in the bet that said I couldn't, however, I could not have that. I needed to fight this fight solo. It wasn't just about the free meal at this point, it was personal. I wanted this thing dead, and I'll be damn sure that it was me that would do it. So I chucked myself at it again and again and again, and eventually I got to a point where I can get to the hot area without dying, sometimes. I would start to experiment with different food effects, which one's good to use. Should I go for Moxie, which will give me at least some sort of saving grace when I get hit with a hard attack, or should I go for Weakener, which should give me an edge over the monster? I would have gone for Insurance, but I don't have that unlocked. I started to eat into my stash of resources just to make sure that I had enough supplies to kill this damn thing. Until eventually, something changed. I was starting to make a dent. It was a run like any other. I dodged when possible, using the Charge Blade to block, store, and release energy when needed. I would use a Savage Axe when I felt like I can get away with it, and I ended up missing my SAD quite a fair bit. I even karted twice, which was pretty standard procedure for this fight at this point. So this was my last attempt before getting sent back to the start to try it again once more. Despite this though, I kept going, and after enough time, he left the lava area. This area that I've been stuck at for what felt like an eternity, he finally left. He went to someplace new. And this was when the final phase began. It was like nothing I've ever seen in Monster Hunter before. He closes the area off, leaving just you and him. One-on-one, no gimmicks, no traps, and most annoyingly of all, no convenient lava spout that I would use to give me a constant stream of damage. No, it's just the two of us. One person will be leaving this cave, and I'll be damned if it's me. Again, this phase is very different from the fight before it. The slime doesn't explode after a certain time. Instead, you have to wait for the Brachydios to scream. This will then set off all of the slime in the area and it will explode in one go, hurting you if you're in or near it, but most importantly, hurt the Brachydios as well. So, this phase is basically a war of attrition. Who can hold up the longest? Do you have enough healing items to survive the onslaught? Or can the Brachydios hold out a little bit longer and wear you down? It was amazing. The whole road leading up to this point was worth it for this fight. The music changes to this menacing theme. The way the Brachydios just pummels the ground to close off the arena. The feeling of, if I wipe now, it will all be over. It was to be put bluntly, pure cinema. And after enough time running around like a headless chicken, getting jabs in where I can, dodging wherever possible, Superman diving out of danger, the impossible happened. Yes! Finally! Woo! I beat him. I beat him. Me. Little Mister, I had no idea how Clutch Claw worked, somehow took down one of the first big walls of Iceborne. Several days of just throwing myself at him trying to win, I finally got a clear, and on a run that I wasn't recording the beginning of, go figure, the adrenaline, the relief, the feeling that I've finally gotten past a wall, it was all just sweeping me from off my feet. The feeling that I've gotten over my plateau was amazing. I know that I will need to hunt him several more times to get all of the gear, although I did get an immortal reactor for the first carve, so lucky me, but that's okay. I know I can do it, and I will be sure to do it again. At least this time round I can bring friends with me to make it just a little bit easier. So, with the first milestone down, I look onwards to the next fight. Will it be more of the same? Will this be where I meet my plateau? I don't know. What I do know is, if I can beat this fight, I'm fairly confident that, with enough time, patience, and just chucking myself at it, I will be sure to overcome anything. I just hope that it doesn't take a whole damn year to do. I will be uploading the clear video as a separate one to this, just in case you want to see how I fared in the final phase, but in the meantime, wish me luck for the Elatreon fight, because I got a feeling I'm going to need it. Hi, thanks for watching the video, I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this new kind of style of video. This is going to be one of probably 3 parts, maybe more depending on how things go. This is kind of like a side project that I'll be working on alongside other main channel videos. I would like to give a big shout out to my friends who were on Discord calls with me while I was doing this, as well as just giving me genuine encouragement when I was starting to feel a bit down, because believe it or not, chucking yourself at a brick wall can get fairly demoralizing after a while. As stated in the video, the clear will be in the description below. Alternatively, I also have this Monster Hunter video where I compare Wilds' gameplay feel to the older games. If you want to look at something completely different, I also did a video on Frogger 2 on the Sega Dreamcast, which is still a fantastic game and you should definitely try it. I am also on Blue Sky if you're on that site, so if you want to see me rambling on that, you can always follow me on there. And yeah, that's me done. Please, if you like what you saw, do consider liking and subscribing so you get more of my videos in your feed in the future. Have a fantastic day and I'll see you next time. Ciao.